Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between the Pot and the Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton,
And I'm Chris Kirkpatrick.
and I should have played this first or showed this first, but I was a little rushed, not rushed, but like I was on time ready, and then something funny happened, and it delayed me by like 15 minutes.
Okay, let's hear it.
So it's a very embarrassing story, but I thought like great timing.
Okay.
Let me get an Altoid ready for three.
That must be serious.
Not a sponsor
Yet.
No. So lately, I've been collecting Lego sets.
Okay.
And over the last 2 days now, I've been putting together the Nintendo Entertainment System Lego set.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I've got 30 minutes before the show. I'm going to keep working on this for a little bit, get on the show. Problem is, I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And so I was like holding it. I was like, I can go after the show.
Oh.
And so I stood up and then I sit back down. And then before I knew it, it kind of made its way already. So
okay.
Essentially, I'll just say I shit my pants.
Oh,
so,
no. Oh,
for
no.
everybody, just a little. Enough to delay me a few minutes. But,
okay.
It is what it is.
So, serious question. Do you have pants now?
Yes, I have pants on now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Didn't know if you were going freestyling over there.
So. Yeah, I'm still going. I have one of those little, one of those toilet chair things you see in hospitals and things.
Live from the bathroom with Steve.
And this week we have a good, but I thought that was a funny story. It's a true story.
Right. Well, that explains
kind of thing
it.
Happens. I mean, that kind of thing happens.
I was literally sitting here going, all right, Stephen, where are you? So
the Curiously Strong podcast. Yeah.
The Curiously Strong podcast. Yeah.
I
or not so curiously strong. Yeah.
So they say Icarus flew too close to the sun. I think I did that tonight. I was like, I can make it. And then it didn't agree. So
you just totally underestimated your bowels, I guess.
Never underestimate the power of the dark side.
Seriously, the very dark side.
But yeah, since I went through all that, I'll go ahead and show what my progress is so far.
Okay.
It's actually a huge set over on the side. I have my the TV section of it. There's a TV and the gaming system.
Oh wow, there's a TV and a gaming system.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can kind of see off to the side over here. I have this ottoman. I have the set kind of on it. You can't really see much from there, but I've got it set up there. And I'm working on it still. There's still like a few bags of Legos left. Tilt my camera up. There we go. But anyway, I finished this part, and I'm just, I don't know. It's amazing the detail behind it.
It's amazing to me what kind of stuff they make out of Legos nowadays. I mean, it literally everything.
Yeah, and the little things about this set that I love, the little controller actually unplugs. So you can unplug that, and then the door actually opens.
Do you ever have the idea to like just blow in there and see if it would turn on?
Kind of. The buttons don't push in, which is a bummer.
Okay. I mean, if it were here would be the cool thing is if you could literally put a cartridge in there.
Well, you can sort of.
Wow.
It's built out of Legos, but it has a cartridge.
But wouldn't it be amazing? Would it be amazing if not only could you build your own out of Legos, but then you could actually sit down and play the classic games?
That would be amazing.
Now that would be the only thing that would suck though is the Lego Power Pad.
Oh yeah.
You could just imagine how painful that would be.
And I mean, the detail is amazing. You can see like the lines.
It looks like the OG set.
Even the audio video inputs are on there. And one little detail I loved is that behind this little panel is hidden a little scene.
Wow.
So little pipes and things like that.
Right.
And this just slides right back down, right on top of it to hide it in there.
I know it. It's amazing. I remember when my brother and I got our very first Nintendo set, and I must have. I don't think I could have been more than maybe 7 or 8. Up until then, our neighbor had a Nintendo, and we would go over to his house to play. But man, I remember I'd have a lot of really fond memories playing the old Nintendo.
I
And
actually have, I have one in my closet, but it doesn't work. I mean, it works, but it doesn't read the game cartridges right now. So there's a part that you need to replace. We've had it for about 5 years, still haven't replaced it.
okay. You know what's crazy is years and years and years ago, I think we ended up donating our old Nintendo to some family friends that had younger kids. Kind of regret it now,
Yeah,
but
I would too.
yeah, but at the time it seemed like a good idea.
I'm just really impressed. Like I was thinking last night, I used to think that it'd be amazing to work at the Lego company and design things like this. But then I thought, as putting this together, I thought there's no way I could come up with the details, every little brick, every little piece. And like for instance, this little hinge where the wire is, it has a hinge that it can rotate
Okay,
to give a little bit of flexibility there for this
yeah,
little rubber tube that acts as the controller wire.
but could you imagine? I mean, could you imagine if your job was Legos? I
Oh
mean,
my
that
gosh.
would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it?
I mean, you really would have to have some sort of engineering degree to design probably a set like this because just knowing where the pieces go. The little, even the on the original Nintendo system, the spring system that you push down with the cartridge, that's in there.
Oh yeah,
That spring system is in this set. So it's like to know how all these are going to work, what scale it's going to be, how it's going to function, how it's going to look. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Okay, so I was in the first grade learning to spell when mom wrote the word Nintendo, and then dad came in the door with the box. I thought that was going to be a weird story, but that's a cool story.
yeah.
I thought he was
really
going to say like, Chris took it out of the box and hit me with it. I don't know. No,
Yeah,
I know.
that came a lot later. That came a lot later.
Yeah. Once the games got boring, you like, I
Right.
beat the game. I gotta do something else now.
No, I mean the challenge is always that you'd play a game and you'd be really good at it, or the other person would be really good at it, and you just sit there waiting for them to be done because they're not doing it. It's not a 2-player game.
Yeah.
So
I hated
remember
that. I was just actually playing the other day some Miss Pac-Man, and just the memories. I remember like the stories just like that, where my dad was sitting there playing, and he would be doing a lot better than me. So I'm like, and then he finally died. I'm like, yay! And then I started playing. Not that he finally died in real life. Good Lord.
in the game.
Because people know that he passed away. So I'm like, he finally died. Yeah. And that sounded really not cryptic, but really, really dark. But in the game, and then so I would play and then immediately die and give it back to him. I'm like, that's not fair. And that was probably like 6 years ago. So, I mean, it was a lot of memories playing games.
Yeah.
So the Nintendo itself is really cool. The fact that they built that, and they have a Lego Atari set too.
Okay.
And I really want that. The problem is wallets don't tend to agree with buying some of these sets.
I get that.
So,
You're gonna have to put it on layaway or something.
It's something. I mean, I saw a Lego Back to the Future DeLorean a few days ago, and I really want that. Problem is, it's $199.99, and yeah. I mean, these things take days to put together.
I can imagine, but even then, I'm like, it's called window shopping for a reason.
Yeah, I use my Windows PC to go online and buy them.
Or maybe you need to have like a well-off friend that will just buy it, and then you could go and help him.
Yeah, I want to do that. Like, I want to have somebody that wants to buy all these things, but doesn't want to put them together. So I can just like, here, I'll put them together. Just let me take it to my house. I'll build it for you and bring it back. Then I wouldn't have to spend money on them.
Maybe there's got to be some place online that you could find someone that, Lego enjoyer, looking for someone to put pieces together. I don't know. Maybe that gets a little bit weird.
It would be weird. I mean, I could be the world's first Lego contractor, I guess.
You could. You walk in with your neon vest or something.
Yeah. Little uniform that had like Lego bits on it that you can put Lego on your uniform.
There you go.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I think we have. I really liked the picture that we had at the very beginning. Could you throw that up there again?
Yeah, let's look at that again.
All right. So Stargirl episode 113. I gotta say that I really like that the powers that be decided that I got to be Starman, and so you are my sidekick officially.
Yeah.
So You're Stripe C, and oddly enough, you do look a hell of a lot like Luke Wilson.
Yeah, and then that time I was actually dressed kind of like Pat Dugan, so
Right.
and
Right.
I
Well,
get and yeah, you make more sense as Starman. I mean, like you look like it fits. Like I
right.
don't know.
I don't know. Um, and didn't you also have a costume for Waldo?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I should wear that
Yeah.
one here.
You realize that Waldo with a brown jacket looks like Pat Dugan.
Yeah, kind of does. Okay, Lego OnlyFans. Wow.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. You could just people would pay you to just put Legos together.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you like how I put the red brick on the blue one tip? Or send me a subscribe and wow.
No, so Corey, I just totally disagree with you. He is not kind of a dick. He is one.
Totally. Yeah. I mean,
totally.
he changed.
Yeah.
Like when you first see his reveal last season, you're like, oh, he's so nice. And then now he's like, this is my staff. Give it back.
Well, and you know what's really crazy is that, we haven't really spent a whole lot of time with Starman up to this point. We see him introduced in season 1, episode 1. And even then, he's still kind of condescending to Pat and really treats him like a second-class hero. What we find out, though, is that, he's been a jerk all along to everybody. That dig that the Shade gave him about his funeral, that the only person that was there was Pat.
Yeah.
That said, when all your friends are supposedly dead, not a lot of people to show up for your funeral.
No, I mean Jay wasn't there. Yeah, I think Jay might have been there. I don't know, but yeah, I mean he kind of was a jerk. But I guess I get it in a way. Like not to say that him dying and somehow coming back is like justification to be a jerk to everybody, but he kind of was. And but I kind of get it. I kind of get coming back, like, and everything's different. It's not the same, trying to adjust and everything like that. So I can see it in a way.
I'll be honest. I've been a Joe McHale fan for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I remember him from his old Talk Soup days.
Yeah.
And so I've always enjoyed his offbeat sense of humor. And I think he does a great job with the role. I think that he the way he's playing the character is really interesting. So
yeah, I mean it is. I'm enjoying the fact that we get to see more of him since, like you said, we only got a glimpse of him last time, and now we're getting to see more fleshed out stories with him.
Yeah,
and seeing him as pretty much a main cast member.
Right. Well, and so the real challenge that we see here with his character, with Sylvester, is the fact that he's used to being El Numero Uno, right? He's used to being the guy with the staff who calls the shots, and he's realized that he's been replaced. And where does that leave him, right? As much as they're trying to make room for him on the team and to give him something to do, he's used to giving orders, not taking them.
He is. I'm trying to look up the because I started thinking of Thunderbolt and how Jim Gaffigan, and who they've gotten so many great comedians to play decent roles on this show.
They have.
Jim Gaffigan was the voice last season, and then for whatever reason, he's no longer on the show, but he was replaced. And for the first episode, or the first Seth Green was
Seth Green, the
little redhead kid,
yeah.
It's similar names. But yeah, and it didn't dawn on me at first, like the first appearance this season. I was like, oh, that voice. And then I finally caught it on like an episode on the opening credits. I was like, oh my gosh. And so it's fitting. It works.
Yeah. I really wonder why Jim Gaffigan got replaced, whether it was his choice or whether, because I love him as a comedian. I find his stand-up brilliant and hilarious. It's possible that it may just not have worked with his schedule. The guy's got 5 kids, so
probably
You never know.
I don't know.
You never know.
Well, he was good, but Seth Green is good too in it. I think it's very fitting. It works.
Yeah, I mean they both have that rather offbeat, timing and sense of humor that I think goes well with the character. I'm hoping that they're going to do more with the Jakeem Mike team up. I feel like right now they're really a very, very minor side story, and they deserve to be more front and center.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with such a great power. I mean, it's I can see it being, and it is, that comic relief sort of ability where you wish for something and it gives you the most literal version of what you wished for, right. And you have to plan it so specifically. And
I feel like
it's hilarious.
I really do feel like if I had a superpower, that's what it would be. That I would, because I remember growing up when I was a kid, I did not understand humor at all. I took everything literally. Like if somebody said, "Hey Chris, what's up?" and I would look at the ceiling, right? Oh. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just that kind of literal. And I feel like in some ways, as humorous as Thunderbolt is, he takes the wishes very literally, not figuratively. Yeah. Like I remember in the first time we're kind of getting introduced to the Thunderbolt, and there was this house made out of gingerbread, and canes and gumdrops, and that Jakeem had said, "Wow," or "I want a sweet house," right? That was the wish that he had made, right?
It has to, yeah.
It really
or if you wish for all the money in the world, because as a kid, it's like if I had a genie, I'd wish for all the money in the world. Well, as a kid, you think, okay, if you had all the money in the world, then no one else would have any money. Then that way everything was shut down and you'd have all this money, it'd be useless. But if they asked for all the money in the world, then in my luck in the wish, it would dump it all down on my head in pennies and kill me or something ridiculous,
I mean, the truth is though that if it wasn't for Jakeem having Thunderbolt in last season and saying "you're toast" and literally turning him into a burnt piece of bread, they'd still be fighting Eclipso. So
yeah, funniest part of his childhood. I guess it was you being literal with everything or taking everything literally.
I didn't know that was the funniest part of Corey's childhood.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
you learn something every day.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the way the story is going. You saw the first episode or two before I did because I didn't realize they came back. I'm so used to things being off the air for 12 years at a time.
Well, and one of the crazy things about the nature of the CW right now is it seems like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah. A lot of people had said that the CW did a really lousy job in promoting season 3, and
they really did.
They have. So I mean, again, that's to their detriment. You'd think that the more viewers means more dollars for them. But
especially that it's on like one of the only 2 shows left, not counting The Flash since it's ending, but one of the only 2 shows I could see 4 either being the last season or them not even going to 4. Just not because it's bad, but because the way the trend of the CW is going, they've been bought out. It's now Discovery and Warner Media all together that owns pretty much all the Turner networks, TBS, TNT. Then there's DC Warner Brothers in general.
Follow me on this for a second. Just follow me on this for a second. We know that Stargirl and Doom Patrol are having at least a very small crossover, right?
Yeah.
Doom Patrol is on HBO Max, right along with Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's my thought. My thought is CW does away with Stargirl, but it gets picked up by HBO Max. They already go and show the full seasons once the season is aired. My guess is that HBO Max will pick up Stargirl and have them air. We're going to have some type of unified universe.
Yeah,
between those shows.
I think that's what they're doing in a way, is the restructuring of it. But then again, it's like the same set of executives making the decisions for HBO for CW, for DC Comics in general, all Warner Television, like everything. They own all of it, and it's just insane.
But could you imagine though that someone with half a brain watching Stargirl and saying, let's cancel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
I can see that.
That would be crazy. For whatever your opinions are about things, you watch this show, and I think you can really see how Jeff Johns, who created the character, created the comic book, had really made this to be like a love letter. It's a love letter to his sister, right?
I think it might have been his daughter.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think the character is based. Yeah.
That's like a question to me. It sounds very Googleable.
Yeah, or just get Jeff Johns on the show. That would be amazing. Speaking of getting people on the show, though, I've been in talks with Eric Goins to come back.
Okay.
And we haven't locked anything in yet, but he's been it's been a while since I talked to him, and he's said he's doing pretty well. And I really wanted to talk to him about this season because, his character, spoilers, is dead pretty much the entire season. And it's like a mystery. Who killed him? And I love that because they haven't done anything like that. There's no big super villain lurking, which there kind of is, but that's not the main premise when we see the beginning of the story. And it's, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. It would be great to have Eric on, partly because he was one of our earlier interviews that we had back when we didn't even show our faces online. Plus, the guy's hilarious, right?
He really is.
I know that he had done a lot of improv, and a lot of people won't realize that that is not his real accent.
No,
so that was fun. So I would love to have him on, simply just because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Since he's been on the show.
Going back just a second, I had to share this on here because Corey comes in with, sure, Chris, you can eat cat food. It won't kill you, as an example of the literal things that you did that were humorous to him.
I feel like I'm getting razzed here tonight a little bit. Just a little bit.
Oh, I mean, I'm not controlling it.
I know. The chat is being mean.
We need some more people to join the chat so that they can defend you.
I agree.
People like watching our stuff later, which is fine with me. You watch it by all means.
Watch it whenever you want to watch it. But hey, I need some love here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the mergers and all this stuff makes me wonder. There were talks of Discover. What are they even calling the company now? Like Discovery Warner or Discovery something
I can't follow it.
It's just it's the same thing. It used to be such a small thing, but now it's so massive that pretty much you have two organizations. You have Disney, and then now you have Warner Discovery. If they were to buy each other out somehow and merge, that'd be over.
Yeah,
entertainment monopoly. There would be nothing.
Agree. Well, I gotta say that the show itself has a 94% Rotten Tomato score.
That's really good.
I don't know if that's necessarily very accurate, but 94%, it is what it is. I know that its IMDb score is a little bit more modest. It's a 7.2 out of 10. I think the IMDb scores, they must be a little bit more snooty, I guess, about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you were to give the show, of what you've seen so far of it, a score, what would you rate it?
I would say around the same, around a 7 out of 10, maybe pushing towards an 8. It's like 7.5, because there were definitely moments, say in season 1, it was spectacular.
Yeah.
Or the fighting, the choreography, the fighting, especially that one we talked to. Who did we talk to? Was it Eric Goins we actually spoke to about that? Or it might have been Eric Collins, who was Dr. Snyder. I think it was him. One of those two. We had them both on before, but we were talking with one of them about the fight scene in the cafeteria. It was I think it was Alex Collins, I believe, because he was also on Cobra Kai. And I mentioned Cobra Kai. It reminded me a lot of that and their massive fight scenes and this montage. And you go to punch, and then the next person would be getting punched. And that first season was probably an 8.5 at least, or a 9 for me. And then season 2 and 3, not that it's gone down, but it's not as like crazy as the first.
See,
but overall, as a show, yeah, I'd say
I
7
feel,
at least.
I feel like every season has had its different focus. Like,
Yeah.
Season 2 really delved into the psychological aspect of dealing with Eclipso. And that little kid, right?
The kid, oh my
Milo Stein, he was far more terrifying than any kind of, digital recreation they could make of Eclipso. He was brilliant and terrifying. And the way that they had shown just how powerful Eclipso was, how he just kind of pulled everybody apart. I really thought it was brilliant writing.
It really was.
The problem was, though, that Eclipso was not one of those kinds of villains that you were going to punch your way through or blast your way through. He was really somebody that you had to beat mentally, not physically. Yeah. So even the work that the twist that he did to Hourman when he had made him think that his uncle was Grundy.
Yeah.
I thought that was all great. So for me, my rating would probably be a little bit higher. I would probably go to an 8.7.
Okay.
That's probably where I would land. Not yet a 9. But I definitely feel like it's doing a lot of great things.
I think I want to change mine a little bit just to go to 8, because I started thinking about the Eclipso stuff and what you were talking about, and I'm like, you know what, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a perfect 9 or 10 because there's always room for improvement, and there is still a little bit. It's CW, so there's that little, like, I don't want to be insulting, but like whiny teenage, like high school like drama type of element to it, which is fine. I get it. They're that age, and you're gonna have that. But it's starting to turn more into like the characters as far as like the superpowers and that kind of stuff. It's focusing less on the whiny teenage drama than it used to.
Absolutely. I've got to say that I've really enjoyed seeing Pat's kind of evolution.
Yeah.
We know that 10 years ago when he was, fighting alongside Starman, that he was relegated to the realm of, a sidekick. Not only did Starman treat him like that, but the other members of the JSA refused to even let him join officially, which is crazy considering he was a member of the original 7 Soldiers. That they did not even let him in. That we find that he is the sole survivor, at least he thought he was, and that he had the ability to build, Stripe.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. What I really do like, though, is the fact that there have been a number of people who have confronted Sylvester and told him, told him to cut it out. And the fact that Pat has gotten in his face and has said, I'm nobody's sidekick, right? That doesn't work for me anymore. I think it was time that he finally put Starman in his place.
It really was. And he kind of took a step back after that. And he was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the truth is, there would have been no JSA to return to if it wasn't for Pat. And he's been a really good mentor for all of these kids kind of stepping into these very serious roles and responsibilities. So,
he's Starman's also starting to be like, you know what, I was greedy, and he went to his trailer to inspect and everything, and he realized like I didn't want to take the staff. Like he's starting to take turns, and then because he still wants to hold part of that, but then he's thinking, maybe I should just retire and let her have it full time. Like maybe it's her choice, or not her choice, but her time, her turn to pass it along to her.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's kind of growing out of that.
They've really done a good job, though, of showing the multiple personalities of Starman a little bit.
Yeah.
On the one side, he seems like he's got it all pulled together, and then on the other side, he's got this hidden trauma and living basically surrounded by all of these, ex-villains who are, maybe they are reformed, maybe they're not. They really trigger him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that really crazy fight where Starman bumps into uh, uh,
What is his
Paula.
name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Paula and Sportsmaster. Again,
Yeah.
Joy Osmonsky and Neil Hopkins, who again I would love to have on the show and interview them
Yeah.
because they seem really, really cool. That they're just out shopping for groceries, and we
Yeah.
know these guys are legit villains, right? We
Mm-hmm.
know that they've gone as far as to kill a couple of their daughters, football coaches, and yet it seems like they really are trying to fly straight. They don't want to end up back in prison and ruin their family again.
Right.
And the idea that completely unprovoked, Starman goes in there in the middle of a grocery store, and they had that epic fight scene between the three of them.
It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It does surprise me, considering we know that there's some type of artificial, intelligence working in the staff, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to have a problem with Starman rushing in and attacking people unprovoked.
And that's a good question. I'll share that again here that Corey asked, like what's stopping them from creating another staff? And I don't know. I thought of that. I was like, why can't they just make another one? Especially when
Well,
they thought the staff was dead or broken or whatever.
yeah. Well, and I think that it comes down to the fact that Starman didn't create the staff.
That's true.
I don't think any of them really know how the staff works. God forbid the staff were to break. I don't think they would have the wherewithal to repair it. That said, the question is Ted Knight, who originally created the staff and gave it to Sylvester, is he still running around?
Yeah.
That's the
Or
question.
maybe. Yeah. I don't know the comic history, but I thought my theory originally in the show was, what if he is the staff? And that's why no one can make another one, because he kind of like transferred his essence into it, and that's how it's like sentient almost.
It does seem to be that Dr. McNider had checked out Sylvester after he had been attacked, and he had said that his body was starting to regenerate and heal faster, and he had proposed that idea that somehow, because of his exposure to the cosmic energy and the staff, that his body had sort of absorbed it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Starman be able to maybe absorb cosmic energy and use it without having to have the staff with him. I think that would be really neat for him to be able to do that. We'll have to wait and see.
I think that might be what they're leading up to. It's what it seems like. Because that would be pretty awesome. He doesn't need the staff. He can fly. He can like shoot beams. He can do whatever he wanted without the need of any sort of tool or anything.
Yeah, but I think they're really playing up this whole power struggle that nobody really wants to talk about yet between him and Courtney. The rod is what makes both of them special. Who are they without it?
Yeah.
I do love Courtney's spirit, and I think that has been like one of the defining characteristics of the show is her hope and her optimism.
Mm-hmm.
Even when she assumes correctly that Sylvester has come for the staff, she's ready to hand it over, or at least share it with him. They do a timeshare.
Yeah, they only had to listen to a 20-minute lecture.
Right.
But yeah, and even too, people like giving second chances and stuff. Like, hey, no, there's good in you. There's good in you. You can do it. And she's that essential, like, hopeful, like, hero.
She is.
And that's good.
She is. I think that it's interesting where they're going with her in relation to Cameron. Again, Cameron played by Hunter Sansone.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm really worried. I'm really worried because we know who Hunter's father was.
Yeah.
We know who Hunter's grandparents are. Um, and he seems to be having a really hard time kind of deciding who he is and who he's going to be. You know, Courtney is trying to be this supportive person in his life, but once it comes out that she really is Stargirl, and I think what's worse, was involved in, if not directly, wasn't sad about that his father had died.
Yeah, and yeah,
I
he's
think
definitely gonna find out about that.
I think that's going to break him, and I think that would be the straw that breaks the camel's back and turns
Oh
him
yeah.
dark. Is if the girl that he loves turns out to be involved in his father's death.
Yeah, missing Jonas brother. Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to happen. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's too obvious, but it kind of is, because she's also helping him to learn how to use his abilities and like kind of harness them and strengthen them. He's going to be so close and everything to her, about by the end of it, he's going to be like, wait a minute. It's the same kind of a CW type show. It's like the Reverse Flash turning on, which Courtney's not going to become evil and turn on him, but it's going to be the reverse of that. But it's always that formula of CW, like help student and teacher, or mentor and mentee, and then like one of them gets mad at the other, and it's always, which I love that story. It's a classic.
Right.
It's
But could you
a good
imagine
formula.
that Courtney spends all that time training him to get control over his powers, and then he's going to turn truly evil and
Yeah.
want revenge, and then he's going to use all of that control to make their lives hell.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and I like the kid. I think that's the part that really frustrates me, is that he seems like a genuinely good kid. Um, but losing his mother, losing his father, I think, the reason why his grandparents are even pushing art away from him, encouraging him not to use that as his form of expression. I think that's the one thing, other than Courtney, that brings his life joy.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of a funny point. In Smallville, the Heat Vision episode, when he first learns how to use Heat Vision, he only uses his powers when he,
yeah,
and so yeah, he had some premature combustion. I don't know, but and that's
is
kind
that
of
what it's
what
called? Is that what it's called?
I think that's a scientific term. Yeah. Of course, in
Well,
this
there's
case,
a
it's not so attached to like hormones or anything, but
right.
still, sort of.
There is
And
there
so
is a
when the
there's a pill for
anger,
that. Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah, there's definitely a pill for that.
yeah,
They can make the fire hotter and last longer.
right.
But
That's what
oh
I've
wow,
heard.
yeah, I've
That's what
heard
I've
that.
heard.
I have never been
Right.
burned. So.
Great. Stargirl season 3, Triple X.
Yeah.
Okay, so couple of things. So we know Richard Swift, who's the Shade.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was played by Jonathan Cake. I don't know why that last name is just so hilarious. But no, it's funny for me. It's funny. The few couple scenes that we've had with him, in Blue Valley, where he's just trying to get himself a good cup of tea, um, and the poor waitress at that place, I guess she has to make like 47 cups of tea for him before she finally makes a good one. I will say, the British and their tea are pretty picky.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
really
I'm a
are.
I'm a coffee snob, but I'll drink it pretty much any way I can get it, frankly, as long as it's just warm and hot inside me. Um,
Yeah,
so
I like things like yeah. So many ways that can go, but I'm gonna say yeah, I agree.
I know. So what are you thinking about the whole murder mystery angle of this season?
I really like that. Now, I noticed another thing too this season. I kind of noticed it last season, but didn't really put it together until now. Nope. they don't technically have season 2, season 3. They have them in very much comic book type form, where each season is its own story.
Right.
So this is Frenemies, and then last season was Summer School, and then the first season was just Stargirl. I really love that format and how they name it. Of course, it's still season 1, 2, 3, but I love how they have that name to it, in that name format.
Yeah.
I like the overall mystery of it too. The who did this, who did that.
Exactly.
I think about that, but now we know who it is. I think, or maybe we think we do, but we don't. More, maybe not quite sure.
What is hilarious for me, my wife has recently rediscovered the old Murder She Wrote series with Angela Lansbury, and she has been binging it for days and days and days. But I do feel like there's not a real Angela Lansbury character in the show. I mean, there's a clear murder mystery, and they're trying to figure out, who it is that killed the gambler. Though, all full transparency, the gambler's a bad guy, and probably deserved to die.
Probably, yeah.
So I don't know how much of it necessarily of a crime that is, to kill a bad guy.
But it's still a kill, I guess.
Yeah, but there's not really anybody there that is sort of like a Sherlock Holmes, who's able to kind of step away from emotion and really follow the facts. I think that Cindy Berman, in a way, is trying to do that a little bit.
A little bit.
And I think that in her own way, Cindy is, she's, trying to manipulate people to do things. I think part of it, she doesn't know how not to manipulate people.
Yeah,
that's just sort of like it's her bread and butter. Yep. And at the same time, I think she genuinely does want to be on the team. Yeah, I think she really does. She does not want to be like her father. So we do see a lot of characters who are I guess we would call them morally gray. They're I think they're okay people, but they're okay with doing bad things to get what they want. But I've been trying to, in a way, set her up as possibly being behind, whoever is doing, clearly there's somebody who is behind the scenes watching these cameras and keeping an eye on Blue Valley.
Password is 777.
Right. Do you have a guess about who is involved?
I know they were teasing. I don't know if I missed an episode or not. I might have missed the latest one. I'm not sure. But before last I saw it, I know they hinted at Lizard King being back, or that he may not be dead. I wasn't sure. Before that, I started thinking, I mean, it's got to be Courtney that killed him. No, it can't be Courtney. But I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't think it was Cindy, because everybody says it was, but I'm like, it's not her. She's trying to find out too. So I think it's going to be somebody you don't really expect. It's going to be Jay Garrick.
Jay Garrick.
No, I really don't know. Honestly, I don't know who to think. I don't think I have an actual hardcore. This is who did it pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what do we know about a lot of these shows is that they love misdirection.
Yes.
Right. And so so often what happens is that they've got you. It's like a good magician. They got your attention here while they're doing something else over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what we see. I've heard some speculation. We know that at the end of season 2, they had talked about they had introduced Mr. Bones.
Yeah.
Mr. Bones had been introduced, but I don't know anything about him, and I don't know why Mr. Bones would be the person necessarily to go after the gambler.
I mean, it could have been Savitar.
It could be. It could
I mean,
be
honestly, it's a joke kind of suggestion, but it really could be.
right. That would be an interesting tie-in, or
Yeah,
even an evil Jay Garrick, I guess.
yeah.
And that's certainly not off the table.
Zoom.
Other people have made the comment that they think it is the Ultra Humanite. And I don't know where that idea came from,
I
frankly,
don't
but
know.
I've heard that one come up a lot. Um, you
Hmm.
know, I think it would be number one. You consider, and this is why it's interesting, is um, that whoever it has to have immense strength on
Oh
the
yeah.
level of like a Solomon Grundy. We know that when Sylvester was attacked, there was like a growling noise, and the Ultra Humanite is a gorilla. Um, so anyway, I think um, that would be a really interesting thing.
I know Corey mentioned there a minute ago. Cindy's a Jekyll and Hyde. That's an interesting theory. Like maybe she did do it, but she doesn't know she did it. Um, or I mean, I was thinking Gorilla Grodd possibly. No matter who it is, I think it's going to be someone or something that we've not seen yet,
Right.
as far as on screen, because it's not going to be like, oh look, it was Beth the whole time. Like I was just tired of you all making me feel like I'm a side character. Could be the Green Lantern. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or the
I
Green
don't.
Lantern's kid, because you haven't seen her in a long time. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I was surprised to kind of call that one out. I was surprised that, considering Jade's involvement at the end of last season, that
Mhm.
she's not currently a part of this season so far.
Somebody
Um,
from Doom Squad verse. It could be.
yeah, I don't
Could be
know.
anybody.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think that we have to kind of think about where are they. We know where they're trying to make us look, right? They're trying
Yeah.
to make us think that it's either Tigress or Sportsmaster, um, or Grundy, or even Starman himself that is going and doing it. But I feel like you know at this rate it could be the lady from the cafe. At this point with the waitress. Um,
It could be Mike and his friend and the Thunderbolt. Maybe they were like running
right.
around like I wish I had a girl to look at, and then there was like some weird scary girl, and they're like and then threw the pin, and then said something else accidentally, and it ripped the trailer apart and killed Gambler. It could be.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know. You don't know. But I feel like that would be interesting. Or maybe it's Barbara. You know.
Or another thought, which we haven't mentioned: what if it's the Gambler? What if he's not dead and he's just kind of orchestrating this whole thing for some reason, And it's
So he
I
took
don't know.
himself out of the equation.
Yeah, he just kind of like secretly kind of slid under the radar and like went away to do whatever he's doing, so no one would suspect this dead person could be doing this thing.
Right. I think that right now uh, the greatest suspect, yeah, the black
Oh,
goo
the black
that
goo,
went into
yeah.
Jade's ring. Yeah, it's possible. I think that right now the person that they really want us to think is behind it, really is Cindy.
Yeah,
Um, because we know that the gambler was stabbed, right? So he had a
yeah,
severe
he
stab
was.
wound. Um, and I do think that she's got access to enough weaponry and strength that she could cause that kind of damage. Um, you know, and we also know that she has access to all of her father's, um, the catacombs beneath the city, and all of his research and scientific equipment. She is certainly the most obvious choice. But
I'm looking through the episodes here, and I didn't realize. Maybe we discussed this before, and I forgot. I hadn't realized how many episodes Leah Thompson has actually directed.
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, and I never really associated with her with Stargirl, but she directed looks like 2 episodes in season 2 and 2 upcoming in season 3. I don't know about season 1, but yeah, she did episode 7 in season 1. It looks like that's the only one. But yeah, she's directed at least 1 to 2 episodes each season, and I'm like, wow, okay. It's interesting.
Okay.
I mean, she just completely like randomly just directed some episodes. Like, of all people, you would think
Yeah,
such an obscure like thing.
I would not have thought that. I mean, and
Yeah,
for people that don't know, Leah Thompson, um, she was Marty's mom in Back to the Future.
can insist that everybody label their underwear.
Yeah, right. She was in. I forgot that she was in Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, that's
classic.
her. That Howard the Duck is definitely her claim to fame. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean it's insane. I didn't realize she directed anything, but she's. I think she has, including the 2 that have yet to air, like I think 5 or 6 episodes of Stargirl.
that's cool. That's cool. My wife loves the Beverly Hillbillies from 1993
Yes.
with Jim Verney, um,
Yeah,
Ernest. That him and that. My wife loves that movie.
it's
Um,
good. It's a classic.
so
And
I
Dietrich Bader is Jethro.
yes. Oh, that was great. So
Yeah,
anyway, that's the person who has been directing uh, some of these. So that's cool.
it's
Um,
just really cool because I know Tom Cavanaugh has been directing a good amount of Superman and Lois,
yeah.
and that's insane.
And I think one of the neat things to see is how a lot of these actors eventually end up getting behind the camera, right?
Stealing director spots from Kevin Smith. Yeah,
Well,
he
so
used to. Yeah,
yeah. I know that we've seen um, David Ramsey, who
hmm,
played Diggle in Arrow. He's directed a number of episodes,
yeah.
uh, and then I also know that uh, Danielle Panabaker, who plays Caitlin Snow, right? She's done quite a bit of directing for The Flash.
She
Um,
really has. Yeah,
yeah, so I mean, I think that it's kind of cool when actors end up getting a chance to be, behind the camera a little bit too.
yeah. I was scrolling through the Wikipedia page for the show, and I still haven't seen any other names like guest director names that really stand out. But still, yeah, like all these shows, and I'm for sure Stephen Amell directed maybe on the Arrow on Arrow. And I've heard rumors like it's going talking about Stephen Amell and Arrow that season 9 of the Flash is the final season. So there's talk that maybe Oliver comes back to build or create or form, however you want to refer to it as, but the Red Death, which in the comics was Batman and the Flash, like merged somehow. And since they have no Batman in that universe, really, uh, Stephen Amell coming back is like because he died even as the what is his name the green
The,
dude,
the
not Arrow,
Spectre,
but the
the
Spectre.
Spectre.
Yes, he came, but the Spectre died too. Which I guess he could always come back as the Spectre whenever he wanted, but they showed him dying a second time. But somehow maybe he comes back and merges with Barry in some weird Speed Force kind of like thing, and Red Death is the villain. But if that's the case, then who's the hero? If Barry, it would be very interesting because this is the final season. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to see a Stargirl and Flash kind of thing happen, but looks like we're not going to get that unless
No,
this season it brings it. Who knows?
I I've given up hoping that they would do one final massive, you know, CW superhero team up like the good
Yeah,
old days. Because for me, I really felt like there was a moment there where we had a legitimate, Justice League Unlimited, where, between Black Lightning, Flash, Stargirl, Superman, and Lois,
yeah,
Legends of Tomorrow, that they really did have that superhuman team up that that was worthy of the comics.
They really did.
They would
Yeah.
that they would really kind of step away from all that. To me, is really sad.
I don't get it. I mean, I get it,
Yeah.
but I don't. The crisis thing still irritates me about Superman and Lois, but I can accept it because we saw the build up for Superman. We saw the build up for all this, and it would have been so much more as a fan to me personally to see that version of that character continue on. But finding out it's completely different, it's like, come on, man. But I can accept it because comics are comics. That happens all the time.
It really does, and I think that had Mark Guggenheim stayed involved with the CW and the shows and everything else, I think that perhaps his vision was to have all of the heroes on Earth Prime, where they would be able to have a Justice League like we know, right? It'd be a lot easier for them to do crossovers. I think because he's not directly involved with the CW shows, they've made their own decisions to go in a different direction.
Yeah, and I think it's the company as a whole, more or less too, because they are shifting gears. You know, they sold the CW sold off, Warner Brothers merged with another company, and it's just it's a weird situation. The whole thing's changing, so it's going to be interesting to see where they go if Superman and Lois gets a 4th season. Will they go into the cinematic world? Will they start to rebrand the whole thing and have like one big universe that has movies and TV all mixed in? That would be great. And Gideon, my life is over, Mr. Wallace. Yeah. I mean, we got to see that. We got to see that happen. We got to see Gideon. I'm really sad because I know now that if we end it with as far as the Flash, if we end it with Reverse Flash again, they're going to be like, oh, you just did that. And it wouldn't mean as much. But it is the final season. So it's like, what do you do now? Because season 8, the ending of season 8 was their series finale, really. They took stuff out to make it work better as a season finale. But what do you do? How do you end the Flash? Like, totally end it. That's no pressure.
No.
But I mean, yeah,
I get it, and the show deserves a good ending.
It really does.
Right? The show deserves a good ending. So I really hope that they do it justice. I think they'll try. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of shows where they can write a very good beginning and a pretty good middle, but they can't stick the landing. And
Arrow was a little iffy. Like, I liked it, but it wasn't as big as it could have been.
I mean, I get it. You know, Oliver Queen, sacrificed himself for the universe.
Yes.
Restarted the world, rebooted all of the other Earths in the multiverse, and he still got his happily ever after. And so I did feel like that part was good. Oh, it better not be a damn musical. And that's coming from somebody who legitimately loves musicals, but I hated the Music Meister episode.
I liked it, okay, but it's one that I thought was like, okay, I can accept this on the original airing. I always skip those episodes when I rewatch every time.
I feel like whenever they throw a little music in there, I cringe. Like they had their vow renewal, and Bart sang that song for them, and it was just it was cringe. And even the Running Home to You song, which I found overall, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The musical part for me just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't land right.
The one that I thought was actually kind of funny was when Caitlin got drunk and was with Barry hanging out and they were doing karaoke. That was humorous.
It was humorous, and it worked with the plot, and then to find out that Barry can kind of sing. I mean, we all know that Grant Gustin can sing.
Oh, right?
He can sing his little pants off, but but seeing Barry, sing karaoke, that was pretty good, and I think it worked, and it was subtle. It wasn't really heavy-handed. So
So if there's two things that we have to have, well, three things we have to have in the last season of, and I know this is a Stargirl episode, but we've kind of covered a lot of that. The Flash has to have being born, but being built. We have to have no musicals, and we gotta have Drunk Barry one more time. Eric Wallace said he would do it, and he didn't say he would do it, but I gave him the idea, and that's evident if you go back and watch that episode. I did go on record saying that he could have credit, that he doesn't have to give me credit for it, but you could tell I gave him the idea.
Yeah,
because he never thought of it. So I created Drunk Barry for season 9. When you see it, I'm uncredited, but you can thank me later.
I think what really concerns me is that they're going to give us essentially the Oliver Queen exit for Barry. That they're going to have him, he and Iris are going to go into the Speed Force.
Oh God. Now
I'm gonna call it, because that's absolutely the kind of thing that they would do. Is they're going to go away into the Speed Force together.
I hope not. I really hope not, because I just now realized, and I don't know if this was because of Arrowverse influence, but spoilers. If any of you have not seen Clerks 3, don't look or don't listen. And I say that because like the main stretch of the movie is done. In Clerks 3, we see a similar afterlife ending. That's all I'll say. Because I don't want to spoil it too much, because I know some of the people out there that might be watching this later on haven't seen the movie yet and are going to see it on tour as it rolls through into next year. So I don't want to afterlife, happy ever after kind of is a big deal to say, but that movie now, we're at the very end of that movie, like that part I'm talking about specifically, if you've seen it, you know exactly what I mean. That reminded me so much of the end of Arrow. Where they're rejoined and that whole thing. And it's like, right. I wonder if that's because of the influence, or if it was just like, I didn't realize anybody did that. I thought it was a good idea because I liked it. But if CW does it again, I don't know.
I think that if they were looking for a way to tie it all up in a little bow without killing them off completely.
She was in the future writing the paper. I mean, that's a good point. She was, what was it, 2039 or 2072 or whatever it was.
But see, we all know though that trying to use the future to predict the past is crap.
Yeah, it doesn't. Right?
It doesn't always work. It always changes. Just because the future said that the Flash disappeared, clearly he didn't go anywhere. All that build up, and more than once, where he was supposed to disappear and then he was supposed to die, and then he did disappear, but only for a very short amount of time, and he returned.
Yeah.
So nothing's written in stone, but the way these shows are, that
irritated me the most out of anything on that show was when the Reverse Flash didn't even show up at all in Crisis, not one time. And that, even, I get it, like the other Barry from Earth 90 took his place and died in his place. I get that, I can accept that. But he was still supposed to have fought the Reverse Flash right before that.
Right.
And he was never there.
Right. Because he had said, I will see you soon. Was that one of the things he had said?
Yeah. We'll see you in our next crisis, or something like that. Yeah.
Right. But, once again, it's that whole, dangle the carrot and misdirection. So you spend the entire crisis looking for Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
And he never shows up.
Until that next season. When he's in prison in the future, which that was a good story too, but then it ended kind of like, I think that we might see one more fight with Reverse Flash, at the end. They they're going to go back to where it started. They have to.
Of course.
Like, in some way. Like, the last season, or the last episode, is going to have some nods, a lot of them, probably to the first episode. They're going to see maybe Barry from 2023 by that point will be like, oh, where am I? I'm in 2016? And, like, he'll see everything happen again. Or he's the original Barry that went back to stop. I don't know. It's got to tie it. If it doesn't, if they're just like, well, you know what, guys, I'm kind of tired. So I'm going to go off and just become Lightning now and create myself. I don't know. That would
Barry's
be cool too.
Barry's going to be like, well, so he would have to return to the Speed Force so he could become the Lightning that would strike him in the laboratory on the night of the particle accelerator so he could become the Flash.
I think that's what they did in the comics at one point. Like,
and end credits.
Well, that's what happened, I think, originally. He became the Lightning that created himself, and then that's when Wally West first appeared, I think.
Just wait. He's going to go into the Speed Force, and his mother will be there.
And hug him.
Yep.
She'll
have a copy. Yeah. She'll have a copy of the fastest dinosaur. And she'll go, oh, my brave and beautiful boy.
My beautiful sweet boy. Well, see, we already know now that Barry is actually the Speed Force's father, because him and Iris, even though they never had their own Earth kids yet, they had like 4 Force children, and so Barry already created himself in a sense, because if he
having created my own children, the Force doesn't quite work that way.
No,
pretty sure.
Weird. Do not underestimate the power of the dark side.
Of course, Barry and Iris have to actually be around each other and actually touch one another in order to conceive.
I still think they could have conceived on the show, and it happened so quick we didn't see it.
I mean, unless Barry had put semen in the mail and sent it to Iris, but that's the only way. For people who claim to love each other, they spend a hell of a lot of time apart.
They really do. I mean, and you would think, would Barry's... See, that's what I don't get. Would he pass on his... He would definitely pass on his speed. We already know that because Nora is a speedster, and now Bart too. But would, like, the human, like... Well, that incubation period, that 9-month period of, like, human development, would that be quicker because he's a speedster? Would that, like, the sperm are like super quick, and that when they get in there and then it's like they like grow fast? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I mean, we do know that both Bart and Nora are speedsters with increased metabolism, just like their father. So who knows how quickly they would end up developing in the womb? I don't know. You would think that might be a story they would have told, that Iris would have told them growing up. Your father threw his pants on the bedpost, and 10 days later, there you were. One of those kinds of stories. Anyway.
Oh, Corey's suggested ending is kind of genius, but at the same time, an eye roll, because the real ending, we see our Flash universe fold into a comic book shape and then placed on a rack by a purple-haired girl in Naomi, or Superman, which is the comic. If the Flash ends up being just a Naomi comic, it would be an interesting way to do it, but it would be like, really? Naomi? Why?
Well, because they're not doing anything else with Naomi.
No, they're not.
They're like, we've got all this useless footage of Naomi. What can we do with it? Oh, I know. We'll wrap up the Flash. By the way, Corey, I think it's a creative ending.
Yeah, it really is.
I feel like it didn't really work for Lost. It definitely didn't work for Roseanne. Whenever they play the, it was all a dream, it never really happened storyline, it always flops.
Yeah, I mean, Smallville kind of did that, but then they doubled down and said, like, okay, it's not really all make-believe. Because at the end of the last season, we see the book the comic book is called Smallville, or whatever it was called. And they closed it, and it was like a story time. And then, but at the end of that, we see Clark Kent running and taking his shirt off to reveal the Superman, and that's where the show just ended. So I think they kind of teased it, like, oh, this is just a comic that you've been watching, but here it is for real. And I'm like, oh, good, thank goodness. Like, it's not just all a comic. Although it would be a funny idea. It would be an interesting idea to do it that way. But
it would be.
Let's hope not.
It would be. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see.
We are the Flash.
We are the Flash.
That's Back to the Future. Never mind.
I know. Well, Stephen, I feel like we have run the gamut as far as the shows and talking about Stargirl and the Flash. So I think nothing better to do here than call it a night.
Yeah, and go out and buy yourself a Lego Nintendo.
There you go.
Build it. It'll take you 72,000 hours. But this thing is amazing, and it's almost as big as a regular Nintendo. It's smaller, but it's almost as big, and it's got the little thingy. I can't get over this. The game doesn't want to like click out because the way the Lego pieces are. But yeah, this part was like the most fun part. I was like, yeah, finally, I can throw the rest of it away because I have this.
You know, seriously, Lego and Altoids need to sponsor us.
They should do a Lego Altoid canister.
Yeah. No, but could you imagine? Could you imagine if Lego and Altoid sponsored us?
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. We can come up with some really creative ads when we do it.
It's sort of like Mentos the Fresh Maker, but with Altoids.
We have an Altoid graphic pop up and be like, stay right here. I could just do that.
It would be like you go and move the Altoids can towards me. So move it over towards me, and then I would reach over and I would grab the Altoids can.
Oh, that would be amazing.
You know,
we should do that one day. Like,
we really should.
Like, here you go, and then one day I want to do a show where I finally get to come out there, and I like pre-record this part, and I'm like, yeah. So do you want an Altoid? And I reach over, and as I'm reaching over, my other hand is reaching through, and then I'm like, oh hey, and then like I go into the frame.
We're on the same screen. That would be amazing.
That would be so. That
would be amazing.
One day that'll be.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm crossing my fingers that you make it happen.
Hopefully I can. If I didn't buy this Nintendo Lego, I probably could have at least gotten there. Well, getting back would have been different, but
at least you understand that. So
yeah, because that thing wasn't that cheap, so I probably could have gotten there on a one-way, possibly. Maybe not quite all the way round trip, but I probably could have at least got a one-way. Could have gotten Corey to drive me back. $30,000 Uber fee.
Right.
Who knows? One day it'll happen, though.
All right. Well, hey, Steven, it's been fun.
Yes, it has. I was like, yes, it has. It sounded so like weird.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, great. We just lost a subscriber.
I was like, really? And I started looking like we could tell from here.
No. That didn't earn us any points either.
Really? A Greyhound is $68 or less? That's interesting.
Yeah.
It takes like, 5 days or 4 days to get from like across the country, literally, almost. But hey, it's something to look into if I had like an extra 3 or 4 days. All right, yeah, it's been fun. Next week, I don't know what we're going to talk about exactly. Are there any shows that we aren't talking about now?
There are shows that we're not talking about yet. Have you watched any of the Rings of Power or, the House of the Dragon?
I have not actually.
I don't know if you're at all a Lord of the Rings fan, but
I mean, I haven't seen any Lord of the Rings movies, but I'm not totally against them either.
I really enjoy Rings of Power. I really like it a lot. And I think they do. In fact, I like Rings of Power better than the entire Hobbit trilogy movies. So I really like it.
Sounds cool.
And it's a prequel to the original trilogy of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And then House of the Dragon is the prequel to Game of Thrones.
Oh, nice.
So those are both really, really good. Also, I've been binge watching my way a rewatch through Agents of Shield. I don't know if
I've seen
you
a
watched.
little bit.
Okay,
A little bit.
I really, really, really like Agents of Shield, and I've always felt like Agents of Shield does not get enough love, but it really is. It's a great show, really well written, awesome cast. So,
Yeah. I did want to touch on one thing I just remembered before we go for the night or
yeah,
for the week. She-Hulk. I have been keeping up with it, and I didn't watch this week's episode yet. I think there's one new one that I haven't seen yet. But the last couple ones I've seen, there's been no in credit little tag or anything at the end at all. I waited for it and nothing. I'm like, wait. The last one I think we did see was we saw the yellow Daredevil helmet, and
yeah.
that I was like, okay, it's coming.
So we know that it exists.
Yeah.
I think what people are going to be a little bit disappointed in is to find out that that is the cameo of Daredevil that everybody's been waiting for.
I think so.
You know, so
I heard Matt Murdock was actually going to, well, not Matt Murdock, but Charlie Cox was actually going to be in the show at some point. That's what I heard. Not that it's true, but.
So I know that when I looked at the IMDb and the cast of characters, Matt Murdock is listed, or Charlie Cox is listed on the as a part of the cast.
Okay, so maybe there's more to it.
However, I feel like there's a lot of bait and switch going on, right? Where there's the expectation and then there's the reality. That said, I think again, if you go into She-Hulk, watching it as more of a comedy and a sort of like the the origin story for Jen, where she's learning about who she is and what she's about. If you take it like that, I think you can sit back and you can enjoy it and you can laugh and you can not take it too seriously.
Yeah,
which I think that's how they intend it to be. If you're the one a serious Hulk smash kind of situation, I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed. So,
I'm just thinking like, man, I want to see, because I also heard that the next Daredevil that they're doing is not going to be the same one linked to the original Netflix series, or was it Netflix? Yeah, that is going to be like a different version of Daredevil, but it's still going to be Charlie Cox.
Yeah, still with Charlie Cox.
So it would be nice to know it linked, but it's not so bad to say like, okay, this is a different version entirely. But the question is this new version the same one that we saw in No Way Home, or is the No Way Home Matt Murdock the one that already existed? It's one of those weird, like, we have to wait and see kind of things, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they've done a lot to try to incorporate Matt Murdock into the MCU. So I think that they're at least gonna make sure that he's a familiar version. But seeing that his costume is very different, I think that's going to be part of stamping out a different identity for him.
Right, and then that last bit that we didn't mention, but just real quick, we are going to see Deadpool 3 with Wolverine and Deadpool and
as Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman,
Hugh Jackman. That's what's
Wolverine.
big.
And I've heard that he's going to wear the yellow suit.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah. I mean, we've been waiting for proof that the X-Men are officially in the MCU. I think that the incorporation of Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier and the Illuminati and the Multiverse of Madness certainly was meant to be sort of a nod to that as well. But this will be, I think, the closest we've gotten in a while. So.
And we know it's confirmed because there was a video very recently that went out with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together talking about this coming up. Like, we're so excited. Then, of course, it was a joke because the idea of him being there isn't a joke, but the video was very humorous in the fact that they censored the entire thing because they gave away how Wolverine was alive.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, either way, I'm excited. I think it comes out like 2 years or something like that, like 2023 or 2024 one. I don't remember, but it's exciting to know that it's happening. So
yeah, I'm excited.
I think that's all I had.
All right, that's all I got too.
All right, everybody, I'm gonna go finish building my Lego Nintendo TV set, and
all right,
and I might go watch Hocus Pocus 2.
All right,
because that dropped apparently last night. Yesterday.
It did.
So
yeah, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'll check it out, and everybody take care, and hopefully you're safe if anybody is not in Florida right now, because I know they've been getting hit hard with
that's
hurricane
crazy.
and stuff. But yeah, stay safe and let us know, follow us, subscribe to us, and all that fun stuff, and catch us next week. We'll be back next Sunday at the same time, I guess, and
all right,
we'll be talking about other TV and stuff.
All right, adios.
Take it easy. See you guys.